Good morning. Happy Mother's Day to everybody today. Want to just say thank you for being here with us. I know some of you are visiting with your moms, and others have thoughts of mothers on your mind. I want to invite all the kids, 6th grade and younger, but still able to walk. Come up here. I want to ask you a couple of questions. I'm going to bring up the topic of mothers. Come up here, and you can come up here to the stage up here, and I'll step down here. While they're coming up here. Look at this. Proverbs 31:30. Charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord, she shall be praised. Isn't it wonderful to have women of faith in our lives? Especially a mom. If you have a mom of faith, then you are greatly blessed. Happy Mother's Day to you guys. Come up here a little bit. Come up here because I'm going to stay down here. You guys travel en masse. That's good. Safety in numbers. That's good. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. If 1-3, look at this. Children, obey your parents and your father and mother, which is the first commandment with a promise, so that it may be well with you and that you may live long on the earth. How many of you want to live long on the earth? Yeah, it's a good thing, right? That's more amusement parks that you can go to the longer you live, right? So honor your father and mother. Can you tell me what that means? Raise your hand. Tell me what honor your father and mother means. Yes. Do you know? Okay. Here you go, Daniel. Let me get my mic here, and you can say it. What do you have?
I think it means like being nice to them.
Be nice to them? Yes, you should be nice to your parents. Yes. Idaros? Yeah.
It means like you should obey your parents.
Okay, obey them. Okay, good. Do you have one, Jonah?
I don't know.
Okay, it's okay. Good. Does anybody else have one you want to say? Yeah, I think you guys hit it on. Be nice to them for sure, right? You never outgrow that. And obey them. But to honor is something a little bit deeper, right? Yeah, extra hands. Where'd you get those hands? You know, to honor your mom and dad, that you live your life, that say, wow, look what they're doing. They must have great parents, right? Have you ever had friends that say, whoa, I bet they learned that from their parents, whether good or bad? And if it's good, then that brings honor to their mom and dad. Great. So here in this verse that I read here in Ephesians, it says, what is the promise that God makes here? Do you remember? If you honor your mother and father and do what they say, obey them, what will you get? Let's see if someone else first. Does anybody else know? What's the promise God makes to you if you obey your mom and dad? You guys are kissing up to the teacher, I know. All right, what?
So that you live long on earth.
So you have a long life, right? So if mom and dad says, don't touch the fire, they may mean it, okay? It'll help you to have a safe hand so they don't burn, right? Is it sometimes tough to obey mom and dad? It is sometimes. I was there, okay? I struggle with it sometimes too. Because you know what? Your parents want what's best for you. Do you know that? I hope you do. They do. And I'm so glad they brought you here. Why do they bring you to church? Can you tell me? Why do your parents bring you to church? Hold on, Elise. Yeah? Why?
They want me to grow up to be a Christian.
That's right. They want you to grow up to be Christians. Good Christian young ladies and young men. That's right. Now, is that something that you guys want too? Good. I hope so. So there's 3 things you have to do. You have to listen, obey, and learn. Can you guys repeat that after me? Listen, obey, and learn. Well, great. Well, I know you guys are going to give your moms and grandmoms big hugs today, okay? Thanks for coming up here. You can go sit down now. All right. Ezra, there we go. Yay. We've been working on that for 2 weeks. That was all by script. So we'll talk more about that later, church, as well. So on this Mother's Day, I decided to talk about parenting. Personally, it's my first Mother's Day since my mom passed, and so that's a little emotional for me. So I'm going to talk about parenting. So this covers today and Father's Day, 2 birds with 1 stone. And so just so glad that you're here. If you're visiting here with us, come stay around a little bit and get to know us even better, as we want to get to know you better. It's good seeing the kids up there, isn't it? You know, they say don't ask a question that you don't know the answer to. But sometimes that can be fun, especially with little kids with pure hearts. It's good. Now this, I don't think you know these guys. This is the Prickett family. As you know, Mark and Laura Camines have been down in Panama City helping with the Michael hurricane that hit there. And they've been down there for, is it 6 months? Is Twiggy here? Almost 8 months. Thanks, Twiggy. And so, and so almost 8 months. And so they're going to plan on coming back in the next couple of weeks. But this is a family that their house was a complete loss, pretty much. Now, 2 of these kiddos are their own. The husband's not pictured here. And the other 2 that they've kind of taken as their own to help raise them. And she said in a letter, the wife here, that their house soon became a sunroof, whole house. That strong hurricane winds took the roof off, and they didn't have insurance to cover it. And so they've been working with them for quite a while. And so tomorrow night at 7, they're going to have a live event on Facebook, and they're going to have handing over the keys to them. And a lot of people are involved in the city, the mayor, some news channels. And so that's just an example of hundreds of families that they've helped. But you can kind of see an example of this family, how they've helped so many people. So if you're interested in watching that live event, you can go to their Facebook page and just watch it pop up there, and hopefully that'll work fine, and it won't be choppy like that last video there. But isn't it great to be involved in God's ministry? It's wonderful. We talked about the passion of helping in class this morning. One of the great blessings in helping people is that you get blessed. And I know Jesus demonstrated that. And it's how we're made, isn't it? We're made to help others, and it blesses us as we serve the Lord and God, our Creator. And so really, there's a lot of ways that we are made. We're designed by God in this life. One of them is marriage. Look at Matthew 19, 3-6. Some Pharisees came to Jesus, testing him and asking, "Is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife for any reason at all?" And he answered and said, "Have you not read that he who created them from the beginning made them male and female? And said, for this reason a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the 2 shall be one flesh. So they are no longer 2, but one flesh. What therefore God has joined together, let no man separate." Now this is from God. One of God's greatest gifts is the family. Amen? It's really occupies so much of our time, is finding a spouse. It's a struggle. Okay, how do I find a spouse? Is he or she the right one? It can be stressful. And then kids. Oh my, what a blessing, you know. And so family is from God. And we can see that one man, one woman. That's debatable to some people today, isn't it? But not here. It's not debatable. It's one man, one woman to have this parenting duo combo, okay? So it's a blessing. So God created us, and we also have that desire to have a helpmate, to be a blessing to one another, and to have kids. God created us in a way He procreated and continues to do so with us, and so it's natural for us to do that. Now, it's maybe divine comedy, but He made us so different, didn't He? I have an example for you. I'm going to say something, and I'm curious your reaction to it. Hobby Lobby. Yeah, I see some women go, yes. No man's hands went up. I don't know why. So, you ladies, when you hear the word Hobby Lobby, you think, ooh, I'm going to create something. I like to go there and look around. What normally you could buy, I can create on my own for just a little bit more cost. And maybe not quite as nice. But you know what? You could do it yourself. Get into it. Now, as a guy, if you're like me, when I hear the word Hobby Lobby, I hear an hour and a half and $40. Isn't that amazing how we can hear one thing and take it completely different. Is one bad or wrong? No. It's different. And we're different. And it's a blessing that we are different. If I married someone exactly like myself, one of us would not come through that marriage life. Okay? And so me and R.C. are a blessing to each other. Is it always easy? No. But we're a blessing and a help to one another and as we raise our family. So that's marriage and family, that wonderful dynamics is a blessing from God. And it's by design. It's by design. And so I want us to look a little bit now into parenting, this interesting challenge that we have. Some people may have a challenging job. Oh, it's just a hard job. But I think one of the hardest jobs is parenting, isn't it? Good thing about having a tough job is that one time you can say, you know what, I think I'm going to switch jobs. Can't do that so much with parenting, can you? It's like, you know what, I want to go to one of those kid swaps. It's like, let's swap kids. No, you got them. They're yours. And so you got them for the whole time. So parenting, how do you define parenting? Well, here's one definition. It's the process of promoting and supporting the physical, emotional, social, and intellectual development of a child from infancy to adulthood. You know, someone asked me, I'm getting ready, by this time next week, I will finish a triathlon. I'm going to do this coming Saturday. And someone say, oh, so you like the swimming aspect? To me, I don't define swimming as, doing this. I call that trying not to drown, And so parenting, in a lot of ways, the same way. That's a nice definition. But it could be like surviving. Surviving, trying to help them to grow up, prepare them to be successful in life in every way, right? But think about that physical, emotional, social, intellectual development. And you're thinking, what are we having for dinner? All right? It can be overwhelming, can't it, to parent children. So the best example in the Bible of parenting that we have is God. It's interesting, there's not a lot of good examples of, okay, here's a good father, here's a good mother, or a good parent combo that we have. But the best example that we have in parenting is God himself. And that's the example I want to look at. Ephesians 6, verse 4 says, Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord. Don't provoke them to anger. Any of your children, mother and father. So why would you do that? Well, children can be irritating. As loving as much as we love them and adore them, children can bring the highest high and our lowest low, right? If you've had kids, you understand that. Or if you've seen people with kids, you understand that. So we are not to anger them, but to discipline them in growing up in the Lord. So what is the main goal of parents? No, it's not just survival. I know that's part of it. But what is the main goal of parents? It's to get them to heaven. Elise gave such a great answer. It's like, why do your parents bring you to church? Because they want them to be Christians. Isn't that why? It is. That's why we're even willing to bring kids of our neighbors, and we want to give them the best start to get to heaven. That's our goal. What's your goal for coming to church? Hopefully, is to get to heaven. So likewise, it is the same for your children as well. Now, I tell you what, it's difficult because there's a lot of competing things about what's most important. To go against culture, the most important thing for your kids is not school. It's not sports. It's not even a career. Now, those are all important things, but it's not the most important. The most important aspect is to help raise them up to be a mature Christian. And you know what? You'll find out if you raise them up to be a mature Christian, all this other stuff will take care of itself. It'll be fine, right? It'll be a great blessing, and so that is the way that you can help your kids the most. Galatians 6:9 says this, Let us not lose heart in doing good, for in due time we will reap if we do not grow weary. What a great verse for parenting. How many of you get tired of parenting, correcting, preparing meals, driving them? I think all of us get to that point. But we keep going. We keep going. There's something that drives us to to help them to be the people that they need to be. Now, we have to think about, are we getting them to the place where they need to be? Or are we getting misguided sometimes? I love this proverb. Proverb 22, verse 6. Train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. Why is that? You know, cowboys have a understanding that if a horse gets lost at some point or gets separated from its rider, it's going to go back to the last place it was fed a lot of times. Why? It wants to eat again. Okay? If you train up a child and how they get wisdom, their main sources of goodness and peace in God, then in life, when they get away from that, they'll come back to it. I believe that's true. And I believe that's the meaning here that God gave us to understand. So training how to please God. Because what does that mean when it says, even when he is old, he will not depart from them, if you're going to train them and how they should go? Yes, it's good to teach them how to say yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, all those things. That's part of the way to go. But the main path to go, once again, is to heaven. If they, some other things maybe not be perfect, but as long as they get to heaven, then as parents, you've graduated. Also, in marriage, your main goal also is to get your spouse to heaven. Get yourself in line, but help your spouse get to heaven, which can be really hard. Hebrews 12, verses 7 through 11. Appreciate we've been reading this. It is for discipline that you endure. God deals with you as sons. For what son is there whom his father does not discipline? But if you are without discipline, of which all have become partakers, then you are illegitimate children and not sons. Furthermore, we had earthly fathers to discipline us, and we respected them. Shall we not much rather be subject to the Father of spirits and live? For they discipline us for a short time, as seemed best to them. But he disciplines us for our good, so that we may share his holiness. All discipline for the moment seems not to be joyful, but sorrowful. Yet to those who have been trained by it afterwards, it yields the peaceful fruit of righteousness. You know, I asked the kids if they knew that their parents want what's best for them. And hopefully as they get older, they'll understand it. It may be tough when they're getting disciplined. I remember as a kid, I was getting disciplined, and I was thinking, for some reason, my dad likes to spank me. I don't know. He gets some kind of joy out of it. Now, honestly, I ran away from home one time. How many of you ran away from home at some point? I think I was about 8. Stephen, don't do this. He's 9. And I tell you what, my mom, she made me a sandwich before I left. I told her, I was like, Mom, I don't like it here. It was the summer. I just, the things you guys make me do. And she said, oh, we're going to miss you. And I remember thinking, it's like, something's not going right. And she made me a peanut butter jelly sandwich. And I was thinking, this is just not right. And so she made that sandwich and wished me well. I'm sure she was watching. Now I think to myself, I hope she was watching. She might have been saying, one down. But I left the house and went to the front yard, and I got my back up to the house and ate my sandwich, and I fell asleep. And I had a dream, it's so strange, I had this dream that my family moved, and I didn't go with them. They didn't take me with them. I woke up, I was so afraid, and I went back inside. My mom, hopefully that wasn't a look of disappointment, but she looked at me and said, oh, you're back. You know, there's something inside of us sometimes that we want to go away, isn't it? Sometimes we want to go away from God for whatever, spite, or I think I have a better plan. I know how I want life. But there comes a moment, a scary moment. Think about, what would life be without my family? Without God? And God allows us to go through that. Now, my mom could have said, you are not running away. How are you going to make a living? She could have done all these things, which I wouldn't have understood. But she made me a sandwich and sent me on my way. God disciplines us because He loves us. That may sound strange, especially to you kids out there, that we discipline you, not because we like, we're trying to build up the strength in our arm. We discipline you because we love you. We really want to get you on your way in the right path, on the right path. So how are we disciplined? It says here that God disciplines us. How? I don't remember having a conversation from God. I don't remember him spanking me in this way. Well, there's a lot of ways. Lack of peace. I believe when we walk away from God spiritually, then he allows us to walk away. He could force us down. No, you're staying here. No, he gives us free will. And like my mom did, she allowed me to walk away for some experience, for me to understand that separation. That's discipline. This emotional discipline and spiritual discipline is much stronger than, I think, pretty much any kind of physical discipline that we can have. Consequences. Now, of course, we come back to God, ask for forgiveness. He will forgive us. But does he take away the consequences of the sin that we had? No. Whether it be a lot of things. Being in trouble with the law, being hurt, a lot of things. You know your consequences of bad decisions. He allows you to go through that. Okay? And one of the blessings of being disciplined by God is having peace and righteousness. One of the consequences and disciplines is being unrighteous. We know righteousness is being right with God. So not being right with God is hard. And it's scary. You probably have loved ones. Maybe you have a child or a sibling or a family member or just a close friend that was with God and they've walked away. You can talk to them and say, how's that going? But definitely leave them with a thought that you are always welcome back. I know if your parent, like the prodigal son, leaves, you're always there ready to welcome them back. So he disciplines us for our good and to share in his holiness. Isn't that amazing that you can share in the holiness of the Creator of the if you are in his family? And if you feel this discipleship, this being disciplined by him, then you are his child, son and daughter, adopted by Jesus' blood. It's wonderful. It's nice to be adopted when you don't have a father. Now, we all get to choose our father, whether it be God or the world, the devil. Hopefully we choose well. And don't we remember what we should do in time of stress? Have you ever been in a very stressful situation and you went back to a teaching that you had? Maybe it was a driver's ed class that you had 34 years ago when you slide on ice. Oh, turn into the curve. All right? You learn these things in times of stress. That's why, as parents, we're so diligent in teaching our kids what to do and what not to do. So in that time of stress, when we're not with them, they'll know what to do. Turn to the Lord. Pray to him. Find a church family where you're working, where you're living. That can be stressful, right? Because you want to control them. It's like, no, you have to do this. But you have to let go at some point and let them make their own decisions. And hopefully you've trained them up that the most important thing in life is a close relationship with God. Not the school, sports, or career, but God is most important. So, hope and faith. Last week I talked about hope. Next week I'm talking more about faith. And I did this on purpose because this parenting is really about hope and faith. Right? Hope is the destination and faith is a journey. So our hope as parents is that we get our children to heaven. That's our hope in parenting kids. And the kids understand that. Their goal is to get to heaven. And so our faith is that if we instill in them now what is most important, that they'll come back to it if they ever leave it. Now that can be hard, isn't it? When people say my faith is weak, what do they mean? I'm finding it tough to do the day-to-day things I know I need to do in order to have a strong hope. As parents, we get tired. And we may cut out things that are easy to cut out, like going to church or having the devotional or praying with your kids. But I tell you, if you leave those things out, if you cut those things out, you're cutting out the most important aspects of raising your kids. Matthew 6:33-34. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. So do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will care for itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. Now, my kids, 7 and 9, I try not to worry too much about their college education. I do start planning for it already, but I'm worried about the things today. Like getting to church, and Arsik is a great mom, wonderful mom. She prepares every meal for them in the mornings to go to school and everything. Does such a good job. So it's teamwork, isn't it? We do it together. And with you. You help us. You help us raise our kids. I believe that. So do I live out the faith I want them to have? You have to ask that. Because our children imitate our parents and their role models. They're going to imitate you. Idaros was with me as I was going through this morning, and she read that last part there out loud. I said, do you understand that? She said, yeah. I said, do you know what the word imitate means? She said, no. So I got to talk to her about it and explain it to her. And our kids imitate us, don't they? For the good and for the bad. So we need to make sure that we give the example of faith that's going to help them when they get older. Because like I was alluding to, we are all parents. Whether you have children in the most basic sense or not, we're all parents. Because if we all have kids here, then you're all having a role in parenting the kids. If you've helped teach the kids in class, helped with VBS, told the kids to stop running, you help parent. We do this together, right? And most importantly, if you have a soul, I think that's everybody here, you're parenting your soul. You're training up your soul and trying to guide it to where it's going to be for eternity. Now, we love our children, but your most precious child is your soul that you're training up. You're making decisions that's going to impact your soul forever. So these are some big concepts. I like this picture of the cutout. A couple parents, couple kids. But really, it all boils down to, are we ourselves living for God and putting Him first? If you're not doing that, then it's all going to fall apart. All the plans that you make for your kids, all the sacrifices that you're doing, it's going to fall apart if you yourself are not putting God first and foremost. Good news, you can always right that ship. You can always get back, focus on, and putting God first in your life. Stay committed. Do the everyday things you need to do. And at the end of your life, you can rest and be right with God. This starts with giving your life to God in baptism here. If there's anybody here that hasn't given your life to God in baptism and had your sins washed away, then this is the time to do that now.